Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
How do you get the perfect garden beds?
I'm going to think over things. Water, good compost.
Through trowel and air.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest and insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
See, I don't know what she's going to ask. So I don't cheat and go, what are you going to say? So I can know. No, I have no idea. Also, do you know what this episode is, Holly? This show?
Halfway.
Halfway. Bottom of the hour will be 16 and a half shows complete and 16 and a half shows to go. 35 shows each year.
I'm starting to run out of garden jokes.
Oh, you'll have plenty of garden jokes. If you've got a garden joke, send it in to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear yours. They got to be PG. They got to be clean. They got to be...
Somebody sent us one once, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Rescue, the sponsor, they sent us several.
Oh, yeah.
They sent us several.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to get in the program here. Problems in which you should be looking for in your tomato or garden.
Yeah, so this can be exclusively for tomatoes, or we'll talk about some other general ones. But you want to definitely be looking for problems, and that probably is opposite of some advice that maybe you've received from your parents. Don't go looking for problems, but in your garden, you want to look for problems.
It's not a set it and forget it. It's not a Ron Popeil chicken roaster.
Yeah.
Remember those the info commercials? Sunday afternoon? Yeah, all these things. Okay. Blight is one of the most persistent problems you're going to face in your tomato patch. Now, you have two types of blight. You have early blight and you have late blight. Late blight is an airborne that comes later in the year. We've experienced one time because we were picking tomatoes a week before Thanksgiving in our then Zone 5, now transitioned to a Zone 6 because of the USDA and the changing of the growing zones early last year. Blight, we'll talk about early blight. It is a bad bacteria that's in the soil that when it rains or you water, soil splashes up on the plant and progressively works up the plant, discoloring the leaves, killing them off, and by the time the season's over, you've got a plant with limbs and tomatoes and no vegetation on it, no leaves, so it cannot grow or produce. There's a couple of ways in order to combat that. Most of us have our tomatoes in the ground already. Yay, good for that. You can go out there and there's 3 simple steps here. 1, use yellow whole grain cornmeal. Yellow whole grain cornmeal. You're going to get the good kind, and you're going to take 1 handful and sprinkle it around each plant. Then you will there's good bacteria in that yellow whole grain cornmeal called trichoderma that fights the bad bacteria. Second step, some type of mulch, leaf, chemical-free seed, grass clippings, pine needles, straw, some type of barrier in order to reduce the amount of soil that will splash up when it rains and also hold moisture in. Third step, as the season progresses, continue to trim the lower 6 to 8 inches of leaves and limbs from ground level up the stalk and anything in the canopy that has the potential of getting soil splashed up on it, even with the mulch. So those 3 steps, you'll increase your tomato production, and by the end of the season, when frost hits, you'll have a big, still, lush, beautiful green plant that is producing tomatoes. Leaf curl is another problem.
Yeah, leaf curl is exactly as it sounds. It looks like the leaves are curling, and it might even look like the plant is a little bit dehydrated, but that's not the case. It is a somewhat common problem for tomatoes. And I think people tend to get it in like larger cities, right? Like
it can happen anywhere.
Well, it can happen anywhere, but
environmental stress, especially from heat, lack of moisture, poor soil conditions. Other factors can include diseases, pests, and even herbicide damage, chemical drift.
I think that's kind of the problem. Is the chemical drift is the common problem for the leaf curl.
Everybody wants to spray this or that with, a dandelion here or on the sidewalk, and they don't read the back of the package. They see the commercial, they see the happy guy spraying the weeds, and it's working, and oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So they just grab it, and on whatever day they want, they just go out there and let it have it, and it drifts everywhere.
Right, and that's a problem is because they're not conscientious.
And just
the impact.
because it's that kind of weed killer, vinegar can do the same thing. If you've got a horticultural grade vinegar, like from Nat Green Products, that will drift, and that is a non-selective. It will burn and potentially kill anything that it comes in contact with.
Yep, and so you have to just be aware of your impact of what you're doing. So another problem is insects like spider mites. We don't get spider mites,
no,
but some people do. And a lot of times, you have spider mites because you'll see teeny tiny little holes in the leaves of your tomato plants. Or if you look underneath, you'll see this very light webbing. It's not like going to be as obvious as a regular spider webbing. It's going to be more, what's the word? Compact.
Mm-hmm.
I guess compact is almost.
Well, that's just it's a little netting, a little web. That's just one of several different problems in which you can have when it comes to insects. Aphids, 5-spot hawk moth, whiteflies, flea beetles, thrifts, brown
hornworms.
Yeah, hornworms.
Yeah.
Stink bugs.
Let's talk about hornworms.
Okay.
So hornworms are very evil to your tomato plants. You'll be like, oh, I'm going to harvest those tomatoes tomorrow. They're almost ready. Or, in a couple of days, I'm going to harvest them. And then you go out and it looks like a little kid came and ate all around your tomatoes and just left kind of the core. And sometimes you'll see like black droppings, like teeny tiny little black droppings, and it's the tomato hornworm, and they will eradicate a whole entire crop of tomatoes or a whole row or whatever in overnight.
There is not enough time to talk about all the things in which you can do and try to prevent your tomatoes from getting hornworm attacks. But if you've had it don't plant the tomatoes in the same spot you had last year if the problem was last year. If you've already done that, then there are different remedies or methods in which you can try to identify them through black lights and all that. Here's a simple way to do it. Add bird feeders. Add into your tomato patch, regardless if you have hornworm problems or not. Tuna can on a post, some old seed, some peanuts, bird seed. You can actually hang commercial grade bird feeders to bring those birds in, and you will be amazed of how controlled the insects are in your garden when you allow birds to come in and feast off those insects while they're eating bird seed. Blossom end rot. Real quickly, we want to talk about that because people still don't know or won't accept the fact that adding Epsom salt or magnesium or powdered milk or Tums, that doesn't fix the problem.
Right. So blossom end rot is when your first harvest or first fruiting.
It could be any.
Well, it could be any time, but it's typically the first fruiting where you go out and you're like, oh, this tomato looks pretty. And then you look at the bottom, which is the blossom end, and it's dark brownish, blackish, looks rotten. It's because of lack of access of calcium to your tomato plants. And what happens is most of us, will plant the beginning of the season, we'll have some rain, and then you're not watering regularly, it gets dry, your plants aren't able to access that calcium, and blossom end rot is a result of that. So what you need to do is just make sure you water regularly. You can use irrigation, get yourself on a schedule, whatever you need to do. And with that, we'll give you the plants proper access to all the nutrients in the soil, including calcium.
There's nothing wrong with adding fertilizer, and there's nothing if you feel that you have a calcium deficiency, the only way you're going to know this is with a soil test from soilsavvy.com. Powdered milk doesn't work. Tums, you need 80 Tums per tomato plant in order to have any available usable calcium in the soil. And magnesium is a waste of money because you all have 99% of you all have perfect amounts of magnesium in your soil. And calcium in your soil. The Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. That doesn't fix a calcium deficiency. It's when you're watering, you're adding moisture, which is releasing the locked up calcium in the soil for the plants to pick up. If you do see on your first set of fruit, the bottom portions of the plant fruit being blackened because of the lack of available calcium, water immediately, remove those green tomatoes because there's no need for the plant to utilize energy in order to develop more tomatoes when they're going to be rotten on the bottom. The next set of fruit that will develop in the next few days, if properly watered, will be just fine. Also, what's just fine is Walton's ink, Holly.
Yeah, we're brought to you today by Walton's Inc., our sponsor. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving all of your fruits and vegetables and is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. You can also go to meatjustics.com. It's an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.